Nintendo gets some Dynasty Warriors stuck in their Link. There's a demo worth actually playing and investing some time in, and Xbox is going to the desert. All this and more in This Week in Gaming. Alright, welcome back to the show, everybody. Thank you very much for joining me again. This is Aliside speaking, as always. Trying a little bit of a different format, so let me know how that's going for you. Nothing too terribly different, just a bit of an introduction switcheroo. So we've got a bunch of new news coming from Nintendo this week since they held a Nintendo Direct event. So I'm going to be covering mostly that and also a couple other minor things from Microsoft. So let's get into it. So in a move that nobody could have predicted, I don't think, Nintendo is going to be releasing a game called Hyrule Warriors, or at least tentatively announced title called Hyrule Warriors, which is essentially a combination of Dynasty Warriors and The Legend of Zelda. The footage that we have right now, it looks exactly like a Dynasty Warriors game pretty much, with mobs and mobs of enemies that you can just cleave your way through, and it looks like a lot of fun. I'm personally a fan of the Dynasty Warriors franchise. It's a bit of a guilty pleasure of mine since they're all basically the same thing, but it's great fun, and I think it should meld well with the world of The Legend of Zelda. Right now, we don't have too many details on it. We just have the brief, beta demo playthrough of it. But I would expect that they're going to be including a lot of playable characters other than Link himself. So perhaps the princess, maybe Ganondorf, I don't know. Probably from across the series, so we'll just have to wait and see more of that, and I would be interested to see more of that. So that demo that I talked about in the little pitch at the beginning, I was talking about Bravely Default. We're getting the demo here in the US on January 2nd, which I'm very excited for. And they've also announced that this demo is going to include a completely different side story to the main game. So the demo is going to be including a bunch of fresh content not seen in the full game that comes out in February. They've stated that when you play through the demo, all of that information and time that you invest into it will actually carry over into the main game as well. So it's actually going to be worth playing and investing some time into and getting used to, the mechanics and stuff before the full game releases in February, which I think is a pretty great idea. It'll garner a lot of interest in the game, and it'll also make gamers feel like they're not wasting their time on just getting thrown into a tutorial like most demos do. So again, that's coming to the Nintendo eShop on January 2nd. I would highly recommend checking it out. It's gotten some great scores overseas where it's already released in Europe and Japan. They're actually working on a sequel for it already, surprise, surprise. It looks more like a Final Fantasy game than any Final Fantasy game has looked in a while. So if you're hurting for some old school Final Fantasy action, you might want to check out Bravely Default. So those were the major stories, for me anyway, that came out of the Nintendo Direct event. There was also a bunch of other news regarding a couple of other titles that I'll just run through really quick, including Kirby Triple Deluxe. We got another gameplay trailer of that. And they've also announced that it's going to be coming with a few mini games called Kirby Fighters and DDD's Drug Dash, whatever the hell that is. They've also announced that Rosalina from Super Mario Galaxy is going to be joining the Super Smash Bros. And Mario Kart 8 roster, so that's exciting. We get a new character in both of those games. And we also got a little more of a look into the Yoshi's New Island game coming to the 3DS. And also, for those old school puzzle fans, we got a new title called Dr. Luigi, continuing the Year of Luigi celebration, coming to I believe the Wii U. That's releasing here in North America sometime in December, I believe, and then it's coming to Europe in January. Looks like it's going to be classic gameplay akin to Dr. Mario, if you're all familiar with that old puzzler, and it looks like it should be a lot of fun for multiplayer. Alright, so that's pretty much all of the Nintendo news, at least the interesting stuff. So I'm going to move away from Nintendo now and start talking a little bit more about the Microsoft side of things. Now, as you know, the Xbox One released in late November, and it's been doing pretty well, a little bit better than I expected, honestly. But that's good news for us gamers, since that means that there's some competition out there and won't let any companies get lazy and relax a little bit. So competition's always a good thing in my opinion. As you might recall, Microsoft was planning on bringing new programming content to the Xbox and Xbox One, which is basically tailored television programming and movies and stuff of that nature that will only be available on the Xbox and Xbox One through their Xbox Live service. So they announced this week that their new entertainment studio called Xbox Entertainment Studios will begin filming in January their first project, and their first project is actually going to be a documentary that is going to be focusing on the 1983 ET scandal. I'm not sure if you're aware, but apparently somewhere in New Mexico there's a huge dump site where Atari just dumped all of the unsold ET carts and buried them, essentially. Xbox Entertainment Studios is going to be filming a company that got the rights to go dig them up, and that's pretty much all the information that we have on that now. So it might be an interesting documentary, at least. I'm not quite sure how they're going to go about doing it at this point, since the game was awful and I'm not sure anybody really cares about it anymore. Except for the angry video game nerd whose movie is also focusing on this dump site. So that about wraps it up for the news that I wanted to talk about this week. If there happen to be any major news stories that I missed, or parts of these stories that I might have screwed up or said wrong, please let me know down below in the comments. I always like to hear from you guys. And if this is the first time that you're joining me for some weekly gaming news, please be sure to subscribe so you can come back and join me again. I usually update on weekends with the news, and I've been pretty good about putting some other stuff up during the week, including Let's Plays, and I've got an item get review coming of Yoshitaka Amano's The Sky, so keep a lookout for that. I'm planning on having that up probably before or around Christmas, so keep your eyes open for that. I'm going to be promoting the hell out of that one because it's taken quite a bit of work, and I would love for other people to see it. So I think that about covers all the boring crap at the end of my videos. Thank you again for joining me. I do very much appreciate it. Didn't have a beer this week. I'm still feeling a little under the weather, but I'll get back into it next week. So until next week, I'm Aliside. This has been your Week in Gaming. Cheers, everybody.